Hello everybody, my name is Kiara, aka kiaras.bookshelf, and for this week's video I decided to do something a little different and give you guys my February wrap-up and my March TBR, because that's something I don't really do on my channel a lot. So in February I read around 8 books, and that's actually a lot for me. I feel like I usually, if I'm lucky, will read maybe 3 to 4 books a month, but I don't know what it was this month, but I was feeling like really inspired, and I found that I read a mixture of physical and like KU books and also books from Libby as well, so I just feel really accomplished. So the first book that I read this month was Killjoy by Holly Jackson, and this was for my Good Girls Guide to Murder reading vlog. I find that I usually skip novellas in a series, but I really wanted to kind of like switch it up this time, and I actually really loved it. I loved seeing Pip before everything started, and it was really cool to just see her with her friends hanging out on Halloween and like playing games and stuff, and I found that the whole story was just like really chill and fun, and I found myself trying to like solve the mystery in the book myself, and that was really cool. The next book that I read in February was Five Survive by Holly Jackson, and this was for a reading vlog that I did. This was actually the first book that I read by Holly Jackson that wasn't related to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I will say it was so refreshing to see new characters in a new setting and just kind of see what else Holly Jackson can write outside of that universe, and I found that I loved almost every minute of this book. I found that these sets of characters were definitely like her most realistic, in the sense that I pretty much liked almost all of them. If you want more information on that, you can definitely check out my Five Survive reading vlog that I did for this book, and I just found that the whole time I cared a lot about like the stakes in this book and what was going to happen, and I really liked that it wasn't too hard to follow the story, because sometimes in these types of books I do tend to get a little bit confused on where the plot is going, but overall this was just a really fun time. The second book that I read is also by Holly Jackson, and that is The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Now for this one I can't say too much because there is a reading vlog that is coming after this video is uploaded. I will say this was definitely like my most confusing book that I've read from Holly Jackson. I found that I was like definitely shocked by the ending, which was very refreshing, but at the same time I felt like so much was going on in this book that wasn't needed, and it was a little jarring at times. I think my favorite part of this book was the family dynamics, just because everything was so like complicated, especially in the beginning. There were like a couple of scenes where everyone's together and you can just like feel the tension in the room, and that was kind of cool. But I found that it was a bit predictable at times. Like, I don't know what it is sometimes with like thrillers that are about families, but like it seems like it's always a man in the family that's crazy, or like that just ends up being a problem somehow. So in that aspect it was a little bit predictable, and I was disappointed by that, but overall I had a really fun time reading this book. The next book that I read was The Upside of Falling by Alex Light, and this was my Kindle Unlimited read for the month because I feel like I never use it, and I don't want to waste my money, so I kind of like picked this book at random because I thought it looked cute, and I think this used to be on Wattpad, and that kind of interested me, so I picked it up and I found that I surprisingly enjoyed all of it. So The Upside of Falling is pretty much like a fake dating high school romance. It was very stereotypical, but I had a lot of fun like kind of just reading like this really fluffy book after like reading mystery thrillers back to back. It was very like fun to kind of unwind a little bit with like very low stakes book. I definitely would read another book by this author in this genre, but I will say sometimes the pacing was a little bit slow, and I feel like it could have been maybe maybe like 50 to 100 pages shorter, but overall it was very, very cute. This is when I kind of decided I wanted to start reading graphic novels again. So I read 12th Grade Night by Holly Hortonbooth, and this book was actually very cute. I've seen it around on Libby a lot, and it's been on my TBR for a very long time, so I kind of just decided on a whim to just pick it up and see if I liked it. And I feel like this book kind of started me down like a rabbit hole of like graphic novels, like because literally for the rest of the month I was just reading them back to back. It was just a very like fun, fluffy, low stakes book. 12th Grade Night is basically about this guy who goes to high school for the first time without his twin. His twin is at a completely different boarding school, and so this story was basically about him finding his own identity and learning to make friends on his own and kind of seeing what he likes outside of being a twin, because he was always kind of lumped together with his brother and people kind of just saw them as one person. So I thought it was really, really fun to see him like try different clubs and like meet friends and even fall in love. It was a very, very cute story. So the next book that I read was The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. I find I don't usually read books that are like about kingdoms and princesses and things like that, so it was really, really fun to like see the main character like go to balls and like interact with like common people and things like that. That was really cool. I found it was very, very cute because there were times where sometimes he would freak out because like he would like tape sideburns to his face and then it would start to peel. And there were a lot of like funny scenes where she would like slip up and like mention something about her kingdom and then would have to like go back on that and pretend that she was just imagining what it was like to be like in royalty and things like that. So I thought it was a really, really nice story. It was also very predictable that they got together in the end, but I feel like with comic books, it's really just about vibing and like not really caring too much about the plot of the story. And following that, I read The Marble Queen, and this was also another royalty graphic novel book. In this one, it was kind of similar where the princess has to go off and find a husband, but in this one, she just is the princess and she has no problem just looking for a man, but she ends up finding somebody that is completely not someone that she would fall for. And I found it was really nice like how cute their story was. One thing I like about graphic novels is it never seems like the pace is slow. I found that there were like times where I was reading it and then I was surprised when I would look at my progress to see how much I had left, because it felt like the book needed to be longer than it was, and I was having so much fun with it. And the final book that I read this month, and I would definitely say my favorite book that I read this month, is called Squad. This was a graphic novel about this girl who ends up hanging out with the popular kids in her school, and she finds out that they are werewolves. I do wish I read it around like October, Halloween time, just because like the vibes were so cool, but I am overall just really happy that I read it. I was really surprised that there were like not gory scenes per se, but like there were definitely like bloody scenes in it, and it kind of felt like Mean Girls meets Teen Wolf at times, but I thought that was like kind of cool. It surprisingly worked well, and I found that all of the girls were very likable and very realistic. I think the only thing that surprised me about this book was just the fact that no one found out that they were werewolves. I will say it also kind of gave like Jennifer's Body vibes, because they were like killing boys. Again, no one found out it was them, and I kind of wish there was a point where people did, just because I feel like the stakes would have been higher for them, and I would have been interested to see how they got out of that. But overall, it was a really fun read, and I'm actually thinking about getting a physical copy of this book because it was that good. So that was my February wrap up, and now I'm going to talk to you guys about my March TBR. I'm really excited to talk about it just because these books have been on my TBR for a really long time, and I am just so excited to finally get to it. So the first series that is on my TBR is the Shatter Me series, and I'm really excited about this just because of how popular it is. I've literally heard nothing but good things about this series, and I don't know anything about it except for the fact that it is a like dystopian novel, which I really love. I feel like I haven't read a dystopian book in a really long time, and I feel like it would be really refreshing to kind of like switch the genres up a little bit. So I heard that the first 3 books in the Shatter Me series are about one main character and there's a love triangle, but then in the other 3 books the main character switches to somebody else. So I am excited to kind of see how that works and how it all like ties together. That's pretty much all I know about it, except that on the front it does say my touch is lethal, my touch is power, so that is really exciting. The next series that is on my TBR is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I will say that this series scares me just because I have heard that it is based off of true event, loosely based I believe, but that there are also magical elements. There are a lot of like trigger warnings when I took a look at this book, and I don't know what exactly I'm getting into. I've been trying really hard to avoid spoilers for this series specifically, just because I feel like I want to go into this with the least amount of knowledge as possible because I don't want to be scared away. On the front of this book it says, "The Poppy War parallels with modern Chinese history that resonates deeply and darkly in this blood-soaked epic of orphans and empresses, gods and shamans." And that does sound really cool, but like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm just so scared. Like, I don't know what other way to say it, but I do plan on kind of like just jumping into the series head on. I'm not gonna like psych myself out. I'm really excited about it. And next, because The Poppy War is going to be really heavy, I plan on reading a couple of like light romance novels after that. And the first one is going to be What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walker. I really don't know too much about this, but I did see on Amazon that it said it was like perfect for fans of Taylor Swift, and then like if you like The Summer I Turned Pretty. So I definitely will be picking this book up after The Poppy War, just so my mood isn't like totally destroyed. The next book that I want to read on Kindle Unlimited is called Weybridge Academy, and this is by Alexandra Moody. Now I will say the only reason why I'm interested in this book is just because it said it was like a complete series, so I don't know if it's going to be like 3 books in one or something like that, but I am really interested in that. And I believe it's like 800 pages, but since it's like on Kindle Unlimited, that's not too intimidating, and I really like it just because I like anything related to like boarding schools. I don't know why, like it was just like always my favorite setting in like TV shows and books and stuff, so I think I'm really going to have a lot of fun with that one. And the last book that is on my TBR is Night Shift by Annie Crown, and I really just put this one on my TBR because I DNF'd it a couple of months ago, and I kind of want to like challenge myself and see if I can finish it this time around. I definitely don't think it was a bad book, but I think around the time that I was starting it, I just wasn't in the right mindset for like romance, I guess. So I don't know, like I feel like I want to give it another chance and see if I was missing anything good. And I just feel like it had so much potential, so it kind of sucked that I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it like pretty early on. I believe I was only like maybe 20% into the story, so I really didn't get to like what it was actually about, I guess. So this has been my February wrap up and my March TBR. If you have read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, then please let me know, and I really hope that I picked some good books for my TBR this month. I feel really excited about it. I definitely plan on just getting a lot done to my TBR. I feel like it's just so long and I'm on a mission to really cut it down, and so I'm just so excited. So thank you guys for watching. This has been Kiara's Bookshelf. Bye!